Yeah, we're rolling whenever you're ready.
Right
Yeah.
on. All right. So, hi, my name is Collin Eaton, and just going to give you a little bit of my story. So, I was born in 1991 in a little town called Island, Kentucky, not too far from here. My story is really not very different from a lot of people that live in this area in the Bible Belt. I was blessed to have Christian parents, and they raised me in a Christian home. We were in church 3 or 4 days out of the week, and if the doors were locked, we had keys. I'm a deacon's son, and I guess you can kind of go with what you hear about PKs. DKs aren't much different. I was really good at having this facade that I was by the book, and then behind closed doors I could kind of live a little differently. Pretty much fast forwarding from birth to 18, I was pretty much by the book. Youth group, I was very active in youth group in high school and middle school. I picked up and learned how to play guitar when I was 15, and I started kind of experiencing and leading worship and doing that with my youth pastor. And I moved off to college at 17. I went to the University of Kentucky, and very sheltered child moving to a big city that I already knew because I had family there. I did everything but go to class and go to church. I really got my first taste of freedom, if you will, and I chose the world. I kind of blew over this, but I was saved at a young age. I was saved at 5, and I never really have doubted my salvation, and that'll kind of be hit later on in the story. But never really doubted my salvation. But like I said, I didn't go to class at UK. I didn't really focus on what I needed to. So I found myself on academic probation after 2 semesters, and so I decided, you know what, I've kind of lost my scholarships here, or they're kind of on hold, so I need to just jump back home and maybe go to community college. So I was going to OCC for a little bit. Once again, still wasn't really going to class. I was still kind of living like the devil. And at this point in life, I started to realize, or things kind of started coming to a head, that like I was really not okay with who I was. My self-image was terrible. I wanted to be liked by the world and my peers, and I had such a yearning for that. Now, I had some daddy issues that are now worked out by the grace of God, but I wanted to be liked so badly that I lost all sense of self. Not that I really had a good idea of who I was in the first place, and I wasn't keeping hold of the fact that I know now, and even knew before, that I am who God says that I am. I'm defined by His love for me. I'm defined by the fact that I am a child of His, not by worldly standards. But I chased the world. I began to experiment in partying, the party scene, so I began to drink. I began to smoke weed and other party drugs, so to speak. And I noticed that while I was doing these things at these parties, that people were coming up to me like, "Man, Collin, this is crazy to see you here, but it's so cool. I want to have a drink with you, or I want to do this with you or that with you." And I finally found this false sense of self that felt good because people wanted to be around me. People wanted to be in my presence and seemed to like my presence. So I started down this rabbit hole of drugs and alcohol that were simply based on, hey, people seem to like me when I'm doing these things. And then it became an issue to where I don't like myself because I know the choices that I'm making daily are going against what my parents have instilled in me foundationally, and that is to seek God and to build my relationship with Him, and obviously not to make the choices that I was making. But as time progresses, I was making bad choices in relationships. I was making bad choices in all kinds of facets of life, and I began to move beyond just the occasional hit of weed or the occasional drink, and then I began to dabble in other drugs. I got into some speed, I got into some other narcotics, and before I knew it, several years had passed, and I was in such a dark spot, in a dark hole, and I really credit it to the fact that I was waking up every day and I was making a conscious choice to turn away from God. Like I said, I don't doubt my salvation, but I was making a conscious choice and trying to fight that and numb that conviction. And in doing so, I had to drink more alcohol, or I had to smoke more weed, or I had to do more drugs. Before too long, in 2015, God finally did for me what I couldn't do for myself through the Commonwealth of Kentucky and the Central Kentucky Task Force, and I got busted for possession of methamphetamine and possession of mushrooms, which are 2 Class D felonies. I was blessed and lucky that they were able to put me on a rocket docket, and I got a pretrial diversion, so I still currently don't have any felonies on my record because I did finish my diversion. I wasn't able to stay sober through probation, so I asked for help, and they sent me to a treatment facility in Paducah. It's called Centerpoint Recovery Center for Men. The first time I just got through just to stay out of trouble. I really wasn't seeking a better relationship with God. I really wasn't seeking help. I was just seeking to stay out of trouble. So I moved back home after completing that program in August of 2016. And by March of 2017, I had added heroin to the list. I had started using meth and heroin on a daily basis, and life was spinning out of control. I had now become physically, emotionally, and mentally dependent on these substances to get through my day, all the while making a daily conscious choice to turn away from God and the peace that I could find in Him. He is our comfort, He is our strength, He is our shield, and I knew that, and I kept running away from it, It wasn't until March 30th of 2017 that I finally said, okay, I've tried this life thing every way but yours, and I'm just gonna give up, and I'm gonna try something different. So I drove myself back to Paducah, and I checked myself back into treatment for the second time, and at that point, it was really like my family wasn't really behind me anymore because they didn't trust me anymore. I felt really alone, and in that alone, God showed up and said, hey, I've always been here. You're the one who's run. You've been this prodigal son that's taken all that I've had for you and squandered it. And now that you found yourself eating out of the pods of the livestock, now you can, metaphorically speaking, that is, now you can make the choice to get up and come home, and I did that. So I gave up, and in 2017 I was in treatment, and I hit my knees and I said, God, my life is yours. It has been, and I've made the choice to run from you, and I'm not running anymore away from you. I'm going to run to you. And the beauty of our Savior is that He's going to meet us down the road. He's going to meet us in the thick of it. He's going to meet us in the trying. All we have to do is try and seek Him. So I've been sober now for over 5 years. In this time, I've been able to come back home. I have a wonderful job. I have a wonderful relationship with my family. I have a relationship with my father that I never knew was possible. I have a beautiful wife. We have a beautiful 7-week-old daughter named Shiloh. And all of these things are just blessings that God has poured out upon me because I finally stopped fighting. In Romans, Paul tells us that we can be transformed by the renewal of our mind. Or he's telling the Roman church that to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. And that's what I had to do. I had to have my mind state and my heart state changed. My life had to be wrecked, in a sense, by God, and only in the best ways. He had to come in and crash over me like a wave to where I was broken. And then he took those pieces and he put me back together. And I don't believe he put me back together as something beautiful, but something useful. And so now I have a mess that he's turned into a message. I have a story that can help others find his love and his peace. I have a story that can encourage others to say, hey, I've been there, I've been down this road, and I know how lonely life can be. I know how depressing life can be and how hard life can be. But all the while, there is a Savior. All the while, God is there, and he wants us to come back to him or come to him in the first place. God is so good. He's given me so many opportunities to serve, to love, and be loved in return. And I never would have experienced these things had I not finally put everything down at the cross and really turned my life over. I've been blessed beyond belief, and I'm loved, and so are you. My name is Collin Eaton, and this is my story in 7.